The sound of her heels clicking on the marble echoed like gunshots. Rachel stood in the doorway of our penthouse living room, draped in a crimson silk robe she didn't buy with her own money. Her lips curled into that smug, poisonous smile I used to think was sexy. She tossed her hair, looked me straight in the eyes, and dropped the grenade. "You're pathetic, Daniel. Always were. A foolish husband who can't breathe without me. You want to stay here and beg like a dog, or you want to leave like a man." She didn't know I was the one signing her credit card bills. She didn't know I was the damn CEO of the company where her new boy toy worked. She thought I was just some mid-level drone who lucked into a few paychecks. For months, I kept my identity quiet, played the quiet husband game, watched the lie fester. She thought I was too soft to ever fight back. I stared at her. No yelling. No tears. Just silence. "Okay," I said. Just that. And I walked out. She didn't even follow. Not a word. Just turned around and called someone. I heard her whisper, "He bought it. Come over tonight." That night, I checked into the Four Seasons, ordered whiskey, and stared at the ceiling until morning. Then came the call. At exactly 8:14 a.m., my phone rang. Rachel's name lit up on the screen like a curse. I didn't answer. She called again. And again. I let her sweat. Let her panic. Finally, I answered on the fifth ring. "Daniel." Her voice was trembling now. I need to talk to you. Something happened. I didn't know. I didn't know you were the boss. I'm so sorry. Please call me back. Please." I hung up. Didn't say a word. Let me back up. 2 days before she kicked me out of our own home, I'd started suspecting things. Rachel was suddenly obsessed with her phone. Always on silent. Turning away when I passed behind her. Working late at a job that didn't demand overtime. Coming home smelling like cologne I don't wear. Showering before saying hello. I knew the signs. I just didn't want to believe them. So I hired someone. Travis. Discreet. Expensive. Ex-military. Told him to dig. What he found nearly made me crush my phone in my hands. Photos. Videos. Her and some slick-looking finance guy, Chase or Chad or something equally douchey, at a private club downtown. Her sitting in his lap. Her whispering into his ear. And grabbing her like she belonged to him. And then, what really made my stomach turn, they were doing it in my car. My black Escalade. The one I bought her as a gift. License plates confirmed it. She was wild in those videos. Animated. Happy. A version of her I hadn't seen in years. She wasn't tired. Wasn't cold. She was alive with someone else. I stared at those images until my eyes blurred. Until my chest burned. But I said nothing. Instead, I waited. Waited for her to drop the act. Waited to see how far she'd go. And she did it. Told me to get out. Called me a foolish husband. She didn't know the lease was under my name. Didn't know the cards she maxed out were linked to my business accounts. She didn't know anything. But now she would. And this was only the beginning. I showed up to the office that morning dressed like a man with nothing to lose. No tie, top button undone, dark sunglasses hiding eyes that hadn't slept. My assistant, Claire, looked up, stunned. "Rough night, sir?" "You have no idea. I didn't even go to my office. I went straight to the 28th floor marketing. That's where Chase worked. Rachel's little fling. The boy she thought was above me. He had no clue I was the man behind the curtain, the one signing off on his quarterly reviews and vacation time. He sat at his desk, laughing at something on his phone. I knew that laugh now. I'd seen it in the videos. Same smug smirk. Same empty brain. I walked past him like I didn't even notice. 5 minutes later, I called an emergency HR meeting. I told them Chase had violated company conduct, showed them the footage, just enough to make the point, not enough to get graphic. That was the beauty of it. No need for a scandal. Just cold, quiet termination. By noon, Chase was walking out with a box of his things, sweating bullets, confused as hell. Meanwhile, Rachel was blowing up my phone. 23 missed calls. 9 texts. All the same rhythm, confusion, fear, denial. "I thought you were staying at a friend's? Where are you? Can we talk? Daniel." "I made a mistake. You own the building? Are you serious?" "Yeah, I was serious." I didn't answer her until sunset. Made her stew in it all day. Finally, I texted one thing. "Dinner. 9 p.m. Same place we met." She showed up dressed like she was still in control, low-cut dress, heels, red lips. Trying to weaponize the same tricks she used on Chase. But I wasn't that man anymore. Not after what I saw. She slid into the booth across from me. Looked around nervously. smiled like we were on a date. Daniel, she started, voice syrupy. Look, I didn't know. I didn't mean. You didn't know I was your boss, I interrupted. Right? She looked away. I leaned forward. Let's skip the fake tears, Rachel. I've seen the videos. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Oh yeah, I said, letting the words cut deep. I know about Chase. I know about the club. I know about the back seat of the Escalade. She tried to play shocked. Daniel, it wasn't like that. Save it. Her eyes narrowed. The act was slipping. So what now? She hissed. You gonna punish me? Ruin me? I didn't answer. Just stared at her. You're a fool if you think you'll find anyone better than me, she snapped. You think women are lining up for you? Please. There she was. The real Rachel. Arrogant. Nasty. Spiteful. I don't need better, I said calmly. I just need not you. The silence after that was golden. She picked up her wine glass, took a sip like she hadn't just set fire to the last bridge between us. You're going to regret this, she muttered. No, I said, standing up. You will. And I walked out. Again. But this time, not as the fool she thought I was. This time, I was the one ending it. I drove around for a while that night. No destination, just city lights and the dull ache of betrayal rattling in my chest like broken glass. I didn't cry. I didn't punch the steering wheel. That would have been giving her too much credit. Instead, I pulled over near the lake, rolled the window down, and let the cold air remind me I was still breathing. All those years. All those sacrifices. I could still hear her voice in my head, mocking me. You think women are lining up for you? Maybe they weren't. Maybe that didn't even matter. What mattered was that the woman I chose to love, who I built a life around, was never who I thought she was. And worse, she enjoyed the performance. I went home that night. Not the penthouse, we were done with that, but to the place I bought under my own name months ago, just in case. Maybe somewhere deep down, I always knew something like this was coming. The next morning, Rachel was waiting outside my office building. I saw her through the tinted glass as my car pulled up. She looked like hell, no makeup, hair tied back, pale and anxious. She tried to approach the door, but my driver didn't open it. I watched her slap the window like she had a right to be there. I let it slide. For now. Inside, I told Claire to block all personal calls. No exceptions. She nodded, already aware. But Rachel wasn't done. That night, she broke into my old apartment. Technically, it was still under both our names. I had been meaning to change that. She waited for me in the dark like a ghost, red eyes, mascara smeared, glass of wine trembling in her hand. You ruined him, she spat as soon as I stepped in. Chase. You had him fired. I raised an eyebrow. Wasn't hard. He broke company policy. And I don't tolerate clowns in my business. She threw the glass at the wall. It shattered. You think you're some powerful man now, she screamed. You think this makes you strong? You're nothing without me. I gave you life. No, I said coldly. You sucked the life out of me. And now you're just mad I survived. She stared at me, stunned. For once, she had no words. I walked past her, grabbed the last of my things, a photo album I didn't need, a watch she gave me on our second anniversary, and turned to leave. You're not going to divorce me, she said, suddenly desperate. You won't. You're too sentimental. You still love me. I didn't even answer. Just closed the door. That night, I started the paperwork. But the nightmare wasn't over. A few days later, Rachel showed up again. This time at a dinner I was having with clients, very public, very inappropriate. She barged in, made a scene, started screaming about betrayal, about how I was heartless, how I'd ruined her life. One of the clients asked if I wanted security. I said no. Let them see who she really was. She was spiraling. Desperate. Out of control. Later that night, she texted me again. You win. I give up. Just please, don't ruin me any more than you already have. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to, but because she didn't deserve one. But even after all that, the silence that followed, it wasn't peace. It was a void. I sat alone most nights, thinking back on everything the first time I met her, that laugh she had when she wasn't faking it, the way she used to fall asleep on my chest during movies. How do you reconcile the woman you loved with the one who spat in your face and slept with a stranger in your car? You don't. You bury that version of her, the one you loved, and you move on, even if you're bleeding inside. Because if you don't, she wins. Again. A week passed without a single word from her. It felt unnatural, like the calm before another storm. I kept waiting for the next hit, a late-night call, a letter from her lawyer, some public stunt meant to reel me back in or punish me for not crawling. But it didn't come. Just silence. So I went back to living. Slowly. I worked longer hours, spent more time in the gym, even went out for drinks with friends I hadn't seen in months. Everyone kept asking, "Where's Rachel?" And I just smile and say, "Somewhere she belongs." That always shut them up. Because the truth was, I didn't want to explain what it felt like to have your own wife look you in the eyes and see nothing. Then, just when I started to believe maybe it was really over, Rachel found a new way to crawl under my skin. It started with a delivery to my office. An envelope. No return address. Inside, photos. Old ones. Rachel and I, back when we still smiled for real. Her in that black dress she loved, holding my arm at the holiday party. Me kissing her forehead on our trip to Aspen. I held each picture like a relic from a life that had been burned to the ground. On the back of the last photo, she'd written in red ink. We could have had everything. She knew what she was doing. A few hours later, Claire buzzed into my office. "There's a woman downstairs saying she's your wife. Tell her I'm not in. She says it's urgent. Tell her it's not." Silence. Then a sigh. Understood. But she didn't leave. Later that night, as I walked toward my car in the underground lot, Rachel was there, leaning against the driver's door, arms folded, eyes swollen but still defiant. "You changed your number," she said. "I changed everything. You don't get to do that, Daniel. Not without talking to me. I think we've said enough." She took a step closer. "You're really going through with the divorce?" "Yes." She blinked fast, like that word hurt more than it should have. "You think that little boy toy meant anything to me? He was nothing. Just something to do while you were busy pretending to be average." I laughed, cold and sharp. "You're not helping yourself. You're really going to throw us away for one mistake?" "One mistake." I stepped forward now. "You dragged your mistake into my car. Into our apartment. You laughed about me behind my back, Rachel. You called me a fool. You made me feel like I was worthless. That's not a mistake. That's a campaign." She opened her mouth, then closed it. I'd finally cut her somewhere that bled. "I messed up," she whispered, eyes glassy. "But we build a life, Daniel. You don't just toss that in the trash." "You did. The second you spread your legs for another man." Her hand flew. It wasn't even a slap. Just a reflex. A desperate act from a woman losing the last ounce of control. I didn't flinch. "Don't ever come near me again," I said quietly. "Next time you show up where you're not wanted, it won't be a conversation. It'll be a restraining order." Her lip trembled. For a moment, I almost saw the old Rachel, the girl who used to write me love notes and put them in my lunch. But then she turned, stormed off into the dark parking lot, heels echoing one last time like a warning bell. I didn't watch her go. I just got in my car and drove away, like I should have done a long time ago. 2 weeks went by. Not a word. Not a knock. Not a letter. Not even another pathetic attempt at guilt through old photos. It was like she vanished. And for a while, that was enough. I started sleeping through the night. I'd wake up, make my own coffee, eat eggs in silence, and just breathe. The peace was deafening, but not in a bad way. It was a kind of silence that felt earned. Then one morning, Claire walked into my office, pale as a ghost, holding her phone. "Sir, you need to see this." She turned the screen around. A video. Posted to a gossip blog. Title: "Wife of tech mogul Daniel Pierce caught in scandalous office affair." It was her. And Chase. Grainy footage, but unmistakable. Making out in the company elevator. Right before he got fired. Dated 2 months ago. Uploaded now. She leaked it. I laughed out loud. That ugly kind of laugh that's not funny, but better than screaming. She wanted attention. Pity. Maybe revenge. Maybe all three. I picked up the phone and dialed my attorney. Pushed the divorce through. No more delays. Hit her with everything we've got. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. There's a difference. But Rachel wasn't done. That weekend, I came home late. New apartment, new life, finally starting to feel like it was mine. I opened the door, turned on the lights, and there she was. Sitting on the floor in the dark like some horror movie villain, mascara streaked, bottle of vodka half empty beside her. "How did you get in here?" She looked up, glassy-eyed, lips trembling. I still had a key. Not anymore. I didn't yell, didn't flinch. Just took out my phone and started dialing. "No, please," she begged, scrambling up. "Don't call the cops. Just listen, please. Just this once." She stumbled toward me, reaching out. I stepped back. "I'm pregnant," she blurted. My hand froze mid-dial. She saw it, saw the reaction she wanted. But it was a reaction filled with calculation, not compassion. Say that again, I said. She nodded slowly, one hand over her stomach. I just found out. It's yours, Daniel. I swear. You said you were on the pill. I stopped when I thought we were reconnecting. That weekend before everything went wrong. I remembered that weekend. She wore lingerie. Told me she missed me. Made me believe. I also remembered her being with Chase 3 days later. My mind started spinning. How do I even know it's mine? I haven't been with anyone else since that day. Her voice cracked. Please. I'm scared. There was a time when that would have broken me. A time I would have wrapped my arms around her and promised everything would be okay, whether it was true or not. But I wasn't that man anymore. If it's true, we'll deal with it. With lawyers. With tests. Not with ambushes in my living room. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing like a wounded animal. I loved you, she cried. No, I said. You loved yourself. I was just the fool who gave you everything. I changed the locks that night. And the next morning, I scheduled the paternity test. Not because I believed her, but because if there was even a chance a child came out of this mess, I'd need to know how deep the damage went. The clinic was sterile, quiet, the kind of place where even the air feels like it's trying not to offend you. I sat in the waiting room, fingers laced, eyes blankly scanning the walls. Rachel was in the next room, giving her sample. She didn't look at me when we walked in together. She knew better now. I didn't say a word to her. Not a single one. What was there left to say? She wore a loose sweater over jeans, no makeup, hair in a messy bun, like she was trying to play the humble card now. Too late. Way too late. After it was over, the nurse told us results would take 5 to 7 days. That wait was brutal. But I kept myself busy, meetings, gym, consulting with my attorney about making sure Rachel got nothing but her last name back. She still hadn't filed a response to the divorce, probably hoping the pregnancy card would get her back in. Or buy her time. Or pity. She wasn't going to get any of those from me. On the 5th day, the clinic called. I sat in my office, staring at the city skyline, phone pressed to my ear, heart beating like a slow drum. Mr. Pierce, the nurse said gently. You are not the biological father. Silence. I didn't even blink. Thank you, I said, and hung up. I thought I'd feel something. Rage, relief, sadness. But instead, there was just clarity. Like the last piece of this nightmare had finally fallen into place. She lied. Again. Lied about something so huge, so vile, just to keep me on the hook. A part of me had almost wanted it to be mine. Not because I wanted to raise a kid with her, but because if it had been, at least something meaningful might have come out of all this. But no. She just used that unborn child like another tool in her arsenal of emotional warfare. The next morning, I had the legal documents updated. Full divorce filing. No alimony. No property split. She could keep her fake handbags and her plastic friends. I was keeping my dignity. When she showed up to my office again, my security detail didn't even let her through the front doors. She stood outside, yelling like a lunatic, drawing stares from the sidewalk. Hair wild, screaming about how I was abandoning her. About how she was still the mother of my almost child. I watched from the cameras. Calm. Detached. She looked like a stranger. 2 nights later, I got an envelope shoved under my apartment door. Inside was a sonogram. And a note. It was yours. The clinic made a mistake. I lost it yesterday. Hope you're happy. No signature. Just those words. For a second, the ground tilted. My mind screamed at me to believe it. But I didn't. I called the clinic. Had them verify again, in writing. The result was the same. She lied. Again. There was no miscarriage. There was no baby. Just another performance. This woman didn't just want to hurt me, she wanted to own me. Break me. Keep me as some lifeless thing orbiting her drama. But I wasn't orbiting anymore. I was done pretending this was a tragic love story. It wasn't. It was survival. And I'd made it out. 3 months passed. 3 months of peace I didn't know I needed. No texts. No late-night calls. No more surprise visits, sonograms, or crocodile tears. Rachel vanished like smoke. Maybe she found a new victim. Maybe she just gave up when she realized her game stopped working. I didn't care. I stopped checking. I got back to building my life, my business, my sanity. The divorce went through uncontested. The judge didn't even blink when I submitted the evidence. The photos, the videos, the falsified pregnancy scare, all documented. It wasn't just a clean break. It was scorched earth. And still, some nights, I'd wake up with her voice echoing in my skull, like an infection. You'll never find anyone better than me. Funny. That line used to make me doubt myself. Now it made me laugh. Claire finally convinced me to go out. Just drinks. Just air. She brought her cousin, Haley, warm eyes, calm energy, the opposite of everything Rachel had ever been. We talked for hours. Not about pain or betrayal. Not about love or futures. Just simple things. Music. Movies. Food. Life before all the mess. It was the first time in years I felt normal again. Not whole, but alive. Still, the ghost of Rachel lingered. Not in a romantic way. In the way a scar lingers. A lesson carved into the flesh of memory. One night, months after that final fake pregnancy stunt, I got a letter. No envelope. Just left at my door. Her handwriting, unmistakable. Daniel. I don't know if you'll ever read this. I wouldn't blame you if you burned it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. But I want you to know something. I ruined everything because I never thought you'd leave. I pushed and pushed to see where your breaking point was. You passed every test. I was the one who failed. You were good. Real. And I spit on that. You deserved more. I hope you find it. R. I stared at that paper for 10 minutes. Not because it touched me. It didn't. But because for the first time, there were no lies in her words. No manipulation. No threats. Just truth, too little, too late. I didn't burn the letter. I just folded it, walked to the nearest trash can, and dropped it in. And for the first time since this all began, I didn't feel anger. I felt free. The version of me she tried to destroy? He was gone. But in his place, someone better stood scarred, smarter, sharper. Someone who knew what love wasn't, and what to never tolerate again. They say betrayal changes you. They're right. It burns you down. But if you survive, you build again. And this time, you don't let anyone near the matchbox. 6 months to the day after I walked out of that penthouse, I found myself sitting at a cafe I used to avoid, too many memories tied to it. But that day, I ordered a black coffee, no sugar, just like I used to, just like I hadn't in a long time. There was no Rachel in my head. No noise. No tension. Just quiet. A little girl laughed at the next table. Her dad spilled orange juice on himself and everyone laughed, including him. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled and meant it. My phone buzzed. A message from Haley. Dinner tonight? I typed back one word. Absolutely. I don't know if this story has a happy ending. Life isn't a movie. The scars are still there. I still double-check people's intentions. Still walk a little slower into trust. But I'm not bitter. Not broken. I'm better. Because betrayal didn't destroy me. It showed me exactly who didn't deserve me. And if you're sitting where I was, if you feel like the world just caved in under your feet because the person you trusted most lied with a smile and tore your life apart, listen to me. You'll hurt. You'll question everything. You'll scream into pillows and wake up feeling like a shell. But you'll get through it. Not because time heals. Because you'll stop looking for closure from the person who broke you. You'll stop waiting for apologies that don't mean a damn thing. And you'll start rebuilding. Brick by brick. With truth. With peace. With people who don't need to lie to be loved. You won't just survive it. You'll thank it someday. I did.